Dynamite Download.
Dynamite Download, your home for all positive coverage on all elite wrestling. Special event, as you can see, SPD. He was born badass.
To see the height and to see the commitment and to see the drive. You will see yours truly without a signature shade. SPD once again. January recruitment month for that.
You know, I come along in the
Well, you know, actually, I did see that. I was thinking
Dynamite, all three in the flesh.
Have to do an interview with those guys. You know why? Because they spread positivity about AEW.
Welcome to Dynamite Download.
Here we are, everybody, with Mr. Dynamite. We are live and in the flesh.
Special guest with us, Mr.
we-
Dynamite Download himself.
We're doing a special little three-way here, and this is going to be kind of cool, man.
Live in Grand Rapids,
all
right
of us
outside the
together.
window is the Van Andel Arena, the home to Live Rampage, Battle of the Belts 3, and it is here. We are live in the flesh. We're going to talk first things Dynamite.
I'm
and
excited. Mr. Dynamite's excited. Cheers to everybody. This is going to be a great little conversation we're going to have about last week's show. There's a lot
Yesterday's show.
I mean, that's right. Yesterday's show.
Felt like a week ago.
It feels like that. Leading into All Out, right? I mean, to me, All Out is right on the horizon, and there's so much to build to that show. Yesterday's card is absolutely stacked. A lot of things happened. A lot of things that are setting the tone. And SPD, you and I talk a lot about this, planting seeds. I mean, there are a lot of things that happened on last night's show that are planting seeds for the future and for the next chapter. And I think, TK and the team at AEW, props first and foremost. I mean, my guy, QT Marshall, now promoted to VP of creative.
Well-deserved.
Guy is incredible at what he does. He's a hustler, really inspiring. Love QT. Always have, always will. But he's got a lot on his plate. All Out is right around the corner. And I will say the competition is certainly turning up the heat.
Mm-hmm.
I personally believe AEW is ready for this kind of challenge, and I think it's only going to make this product better, SPD. When you look at the roster, the talent on this roster, and Dynamite was a great reflection of some of the things that we take for granted, like Adam Cole coming back, right? We got a chance to see Jericho in the main event, a guy who, let's be honest, is one of the greatest ever to do this. Right?
Preach it, please. Music to my ears.
I know that. And another guy, Jay Lethal getting some prime time. I mean, the guy getting an opportunity. I'm excited for that matchup. For him to get an opportunity against my guy Wardlow. Talents like that. Let's be real. Jay Lethal, a well-respected veteran in the business who is somebody who they can sneak into a card who is going to have an incredible match. I'm geeked about what's to come.
I agree. I've been a fan of, first and foremost, last week's show with Mindrunner, I had I think that was the turning point. They're rounding the bases and heading into All Out. That was the key pivotal show where they're really going to go all in and all out. And tonight was one of my favorite cards that we've seen in a while. And it was almost like a Dynamite Download special.
You're right.
Kicking things off with, I said this all for, months ago. I was like, Jay Lethal, where is this guy? He's totally not being used where he needs to be used. And I think this pairing, him turning heel, in this pairing with Singh and One in a Billion.
Yeah.
And I think this side of him is one that we need to see. And for him to get the win over someone as hot as Orange Cassidy was clutch. And I think it was well-deserved for one. And I think it helps push him more. And I called the match, early, a couple weeks ago, we were kind of predicting Battle of the Belts 3. and I predicted
You
Lethal before
You did.
Wardlow came out and confronted him.
Yeah.
Lethal and Wardlow for the TNT title. But talk about an amazing week that he's having. I mean, Ric Flair's last match beats Orange Cassidy, one of the biggest names in AEW right now. Gets a title shot, less than a week. So, props to Jay Lethal, man. The guy has got such charisma and great in-ring work. The guy is a beast as well. So, all in all, I mean, what a way to kick off the show. And, even though AEW fan favorite Orange Cassidy didn't get the win, I think for the big picture, this is where you need to go and to give that Lethal that win.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Listening to other outlets that cover AEW, right? Listening to Busted Open, Bully Ray was a little critical of this decision of having Orange Cassidy take another loss. If you're like his whole point was, if you're a fan of Orange Cassidy, the guy is absolutely white hot when it comes to being over with the fans. But where are his big victories, right? He lost against Ospreay, lost against Wardlow. Now he's losing against Jay Lethal. Bully Ray's point is, how many times can he take L's and still stay white hot?
That's good.
I'll say this. It's very rare when you have a talent that is as over as Orange Cassidy that doesn't really need W's. It's weird, right? Especially in a company like AEW that really they really try to emphasize that win-loss record, right? They really try to emphasize the rankings. But there are certain talents that overcome those obstacles. And Orange Cassidy is one of those guys, right? To me, I think that Orange Cassidy going against Jay Lethal is a big deal because, this is another opportunity, just not too different from the Ospreay match.
That was a great match.
You're going against a guy who is regarded as one of the better in-ring talents in pro wrestling right now, right? I mean, Will Ospreay, internationally known for what he's able to do, right? A lot of people are comparing him and really labeling him as the next generation of Kenny Omega.
Big boots to fill.
No doubt, right? But you see the parallels.
Yeah, agree.
To me, one of the biggest moves that and I know that AEW's roster is stacked, but Jay Lethal is one of those guys that when you have him on your roster, and even the most vocal critics of AEW, Jim Cornette is a perfect example. Cornette is time and time again has criticized the product that AEW's put out. He's very vocal critic of what this company does. But even Cornette will stand back and recognize Jay Lethal is one of those guys that you can build a company around, that you can put as a fundamental piece that you can always count on to have a great match, have a great program. You said it. Charismatic as it
heel
gets.
Or babyface, doesn't matter.
Exactly. It's cool to see him as a heel here because to me, I always have felt like he's best as a babyface, right? I mean, he's so charismatic. He's so easily able to connect with fans. But to be able to put him in this light as a heel, it's interesting to see. And I feel like for Wardlow, and I'm a diehard Wardlow guy. I am, to me, Wardlow is such a unique talent in the scope of pro wrestling right now. There are very few guys who check the boxes quite like him. And I've been calling for his breakout for years now. And now that's happening.
Since day one of Dynamite Download.
Right? I'm pumped that it's happening, right? But it's so nice to see Wardlow get this really a program with a guy like Jay Lethal here,
Veteran
right?
in the biz.
He's finally getting a feud, right? Wardlow post MJF, we kind of were wondering what was going to happen with him, right?
Right.
Like he fought, he had the whole thing with Mark Sterling, and it was okay.
Right.
But I think what AEW
30 versus 20 versus 1.
Right. I think that with Wardlow and Jay Lethal, you get an opportunity to have Wardlow be the clear-cut babyface, but also put him in a situation where you know he's going to shine in the ring. He and Jay Lethal are going to have a hell of a match. I can't wait for
It's
it.
totally
And neither can Finnegan. I mean, we are both pumped.
Finnegan is a team
versus
Wardlow. He's ready
Jay
for
Lethal versus Wardlow.
We're going to
It's
see
gonna
that
be awesome.
live here in Grand Rapids. You know, I mean, we can go on and on and on about Wardlow, which we'll talk about. Let's touch on this match.
Yeah.
You know, because we're going to combine the Dynamite review as we do and the Battle of Belts preview. And I think this is one of those matches that I'm really, really looking forward to. I mean, to me, you know, this is the third Battle of the Belts. And I think this is one of the more stacked cards that we're seeing is, you know, Wardlow, a TNT Championship match being defended versus top-tier talent. And then we have, obviously, Thunder Rosa and Claudio defending his belt for the first time.
We talked about this.
Yes,
yeah.
This is going to be an awesome show that they're going to air on Saturday night for Fight Night. And this one I'm looking forward to the most. I mean, the big man is going to be defending his belt. I mean, he's got Orange Cassidy under his belt now. Jay Lethal, you know, I mean, his promos that he's been doing week in and week out have been spot on. I mean, becoming a resident of Wardlow's world is Finnegan is just a big Wardlow fan, clearly, right here. So he's going to town on this. So I think that this one is going to be one of the show stealer matches of in-ring performance. I know there's a lot of buzz around the Claudio match. I can't wait for that, to see him in person. I have not witnessed a live match with him in person yet. And so it's going to be some good stuff. But, you know, one of the more compelling stories that happened almost kind of under the radar, essentially, we knew that they were promoting it a lot, was that the Undisputed Elite was going to be back in the ring together. You had to sense something was coming with this. And sure enough, it just is leading to the building blocks that we are so happy that we're leading up to, which is the Undisputed Elite going against each other, which is going to be made for some absolute must-see TV. Really, you know, lean into that nasty heel of Adam Cole. I've told you
how many times. I mean, let's be real here. Like, how many times have I talked about? You know, yes, some of the critics about Adam Cole, they have validity, right? The guy is incredibly charismatic, and I get that he's smaller build. And so there are people who will criticize, is he really a top-level heel? Well, this is one of those moments where I feel like Adam Cole really reinforces why he has always been a top-level heel everywhere he's gone, right? When you have moments like this where you're able to showcase what an absolute dirtbag Adam Cole is, and this is one of the things I love about the guy, right? He talks about loyalty. He talks about staying together and being committed to one another. And then 30 seconds later, he's super kicking Matt Jackson in the face, right? This is one of the things that makes
injuring them so they can't even compete.
Exactly. This is one of those things that makes Adam Cole really unique. And I've said it from the beginning when he debuted in AEW. One of the best parts about Adam Cole is when you just let him unleash him and let him be a total dirtbag. He is more than happy to use people. He's at his best when he is leveraging his friendships, so to speak, for his own advantage. And this was incredible as far as how it's set up.
Yeah.
What you have been predicting for a while now, Hangman Adam Page teaming up with the Bucks. You know, when it comes to a storyline that puts top-level talent together in the ring,
man, it's gonna be some good matches.
It doesn't get much better than the Bucks and Hangman and Adam Cole and Red Dragon. I mean, that is a trios combination that is truly as good as you can imagine in pro wrestling. So, you know, yes, Adam Cole needs to get cleared medically. He needs to get to that level. So does Kyle O'Reilly. We understand that, right?
Do you think they're milking us to All Out?
I think so.
You think they're close to give us that ultimate wild card at All Out?
I think so. And when you hear the criticism of Tony Khan and his booking and how we're this close to All Out and we don't have any matches booked and all that stuff, you see something like this and you say to yourself, like, well, it's pretty clear, right? The direction that we're going in is the undisputed, the elite going against Undisputed Era, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is a match that it's pretty obvious. It only took one segment. It didn't take long to clearly establish. Okay, like
it's like 3 minutes,
and it's a banger. It's going to be a banger match, and this is what Tony has been talking about, right? Like, yes, we're very close to All Out, one of the biggest pay-per-views in AEW, right? But when you have talent like this, and you have seeds that have been planted, and you've been talking about this, right? If you follow BTE, if you're paying attention, you know that there are things that are there that are ready to. All it takes is for him to strike, right? Like go all in on it, and now all of a sudden, boom, we're invested. I think, to me, from an in-ring perspective, if you were telling me I'm going to be able to see Hangman and the Bucks against Adam Cole and Red Dragon, it's going to be one of those matches that's going to set the bar pretty high at All Out.
I completely agree. The in-ring talent, it would be tough to match that anywhere on the card with those six guys, and it makes most sense. I mean, I talked about last week was like that would be the finals. You lead up to that and that being the finals. Yeah. And so there's no way Hangman and the Bucks are going to be losing after this months, almost a year of, being apart. You can't just have them rejoin and form an alliance. Then all of a sudden
they're teasing it.
Right. I mean, it was great stuff. I mean, the crowd was hot. Yeah. And the Young Bucks are awesome as heels, but obviously you always want to root for them because they're so damn good in the ring too. So it's hard not to root for them, even though if they are the sleazy, dangly heels that they are. But let's talk about one of your favorite segments.
This is it.
Which honestly, this is pay-per-view worthy talent in the ring.
Totally agree.
Worthy
this could have been on a pay-per-view.
And I'm glad they didn't get that typical women's spot, that 9:30 spot that gets, less than 10 minutes. This was the second match of the night. And it delivered, and I wanted more of it. I wanted more storyline after the match as well. So I know Tony hit her partner Thunder at the end and cost the match essentially, but I wanted more meat to this, even though it was a great match and a showcase of definitely of a core talent of the women's division. Right here, these four women are absolutely part of the pillars of the division right now, carrying it. And I'm so happy for Jamie Hayter to be able to take that win and take that pin.
A lot of Hayter fans out there.
Because she deserves it. I mean, she's been one of the workhorses, one of the powerhouses of the women's division for
very
week in and
talent.
Week out, month. And we talked about before, she was one of those, if Statlander doesn't dethrone Jade or, whoever doesn't dethrone Thunder, I mean, she's definitely should be on the top of the list. And
people have been chomping at the bit to see Jamie Hayter get an opportunity. And I think, a lot of folks have been wanting to see her break away from Britt. But as a DMD fan, I got to say, like, Britt and Hayter together, this match to me was the highlight of the show.
Okay. Wow.
I mean, it shouldn't come as that much of a surprise. To me personally, I think that it was great to see Hayter get a little bit of an opportunity to shine here. But more so, I truly, and I'll say it till the cows come home, my friend, the AEW product is significantly better when Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa are interacting with each other. I know that it might feel. I know you don't want to continue to tap into that well, right? I get that you have to be careful with how often you go back to this, but to me, Thunder Rosa's title reign has been really sorely lacking a true, clear rival, right? I thought that they planted seeds of that with Serena Deeb, and I liked
I liked
more that. I loved their match together. I like their history with each other. I really loved the Thunder Rosa Serena Deeb little build that we had.
Right.
But once that was done, it felt like Thunder fell off, right? And I think that as a champion, it's really important for her to have a clear rival that's built. And Britt Baker doesn't need any build. You instantly insert her into Thunder Rosa's world, and you immediately have an incredibly hot feud, right? These two, their history together, to me, is and has been part of the true fabric of AEW. Right? There are very few feuds that you identify as cornerstone feuds of this company, right? And I would say the Young Bucks and FTR are one of those feuds, right? Where you can say
Chris Jericho, Pinnacle / Inner Circle.
Inner Circle versus Pinnacle, I agree, right? But to me, Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker is right at the top of that list. I mean,
definitely 100% top of the list for women's division.
Without a question.
There's not even a
without question. And I think they bring out the best of each other.
Yeah.
You know, Britt, let's be transparent about things, right? To me, the critics of Britt Baker are always point out that she's not this. She's great on the mic, but she's just okay in the ring. I disagree. I think Britt's fantastic in the ring, and she's only getting better.
Yeah.
Right. But and she always knows how to play to the camera. Britt does all the little things so well. I'm a huge Britt Baker fan, right?
We know.
But even her most vocal critics can't argue Britt as a character, as a persona, as somebody who can cut promos and can engage the audience is at top level, right? Thunder Rosa, her most vocal critics, no one can argue that Thunder is a badass in the ring, right?
Full of fire.
When she has her handcuffs off and she can lead a match, Thunder is as good as it gets when it comes to women's wrestling, right? But she has struggled to build her persona, her character, her promos, right? So that's why I love when Thunder and Britt interact with each other, because their strengths complement each other.
Yeah.
Britt is an over-the-top personality that is incredible on the mic and knows how to build feuds and heat through her words and her actions, right? But sometimes gets criticism for her in-ring work. Thunder is as incredible of an in-ring performer as you can hope for, but sometimes struggles with mic work, right? So they balance each other out. Their flaws complement each other. Their strengths complement each other. They are such a beautiful tandem, and I love what they've built. And I think that it's brilliant that Tony continues to kind of zig and zag with this feud. He'll touch on it, and then he'll leave it, and then he'll come back and touch on it again. And this whole new layer that they're building with Tony Storm and Jamie Hayter, this is the thing. Why would you not utilize your most sure thing feud in the women's division, right? To elevate other stars, right? So not only are you giving us fans what we love, which is Thunder versus Britt, but you're also utilizing that foundation of a feud to elevate Jamie Hayter and Tony Storm, who I agree with you, SPD. Both of those women feel like they can be big deals in this division, and the division needs it, right? I think the division needs more women who feel like they are believable title contenders, right? And that to me was the message that I received in this match. Tony looks like a star from the very get-go. When ever since she's interacted with Britt, she's never backed down from Britt Baker. She's never wilted in the moment. She's always felt like she can handle herself in the big pressure, the big moment. Jamie Hayter has a lot of fans online, but dude, this girl is a beast in the ring. There are maybe 2 or 3 other women, at most 2 or 3 other women in this entire company who can do what Jamie Hayter can do, right? You immediately, when you talk about in-ring work, powerhouse, you're talking her, Jade, maybe Statlander, not a lot of other women who can do what she can do. So I thought this was a great showcase. I'm so geeked that I'm just geeked out that we get an opportunity to see Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker interacting with each other. You know, that's my favorite feud in AEW history. Even MJF and Wardlow, all of it.
You preached that for years.
I stand by it. I
mean,
still think that it's money.
Thunder Rosa, let's say 18 months ago, and it was then that when it was hot. And so we're coming on almost 2 years. And so Thunder Rosa challenging for Jamie Hayter, and we love Thunder Rosa so much in Dynamite Download, and just her passion, her fire, go on and on and on.
She really represents a lot of what we preach about, what's great in wrestling.
What do you
passion?
And we've talked about how impressed we have been of Jamie Hayter as of late. What do you think happens at this match? I think AEW needs to capitalize on this match right tomorrow, or on Battle of the Belts. I think they need to either have some turmoil with Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker, where we can start to see Jamie Hayter break out. There's something needs to happen. It doesn't need. I don't want a clean match.
So to me,
I need a story to develop.
People have been wondering if Jamie was going to break away from Britt for a long time, right? Basically from the beginning, everyone knows Thunder. Everyone knows that Rebel and Britt. They're not breaking apart, right? No. Rebel and Britt are a team. They're a tandem. They're peanut butter and jelly. They're better together. They're not separating, right? But there's been a lot of conversation about Jamie can be a big star on her own. Is she going to break away from Britt? Though there's money in a feud between
Yo, can you hear us? Oh my gosh. Hello.
I think the
That
truth of the
man.
matter is the internet can only handle crayfish gushing about Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa for so much, and then it just
Wow.
shuts down.
I know, that was-
the whole internet shuts down.
So, okay, as we had some
As you were.
hotel Wi-Fi, typical as usual. We were talking about where we're going with this Jamie Hayter, Thunder Rosa, Britt Baker, all that, and I want more storyline. I don't want a clean finish to the match tomorrow night, Saturday night on the Battle of the Belts. So what kind of swerve or what kind of direction do you want to see this go? Because to me, if you have a clean finish, you're just back to square one.
Mm-hmm.
So where do you want it to go?
I mean, to me, I think I want Britt to continue to utilize her power in numbers. Britt's greatest ally or greatest strength is her mind, her ability to outthink her opponents, to constantly be a step ahead. I've always loved that about the DMD, right?
Yeah.
She is a doctor, right? So she's obviously
smart.
very smart. To me, I feel like Thunder is best when she's an underdog. And that's really hard to do when you're a champ, right? It's hard to present yourself as an underdog when you're the alpha, when you are the champion, right? So that is maybe part of the reason why Thunder has struggled a little bit with this title reign, is because she's in a position that puts her character in a light that we're not used to, and I think that maybe puts her in a spot in a way that isn't playing to her strengths. So that said, I love Thunder as a champion. She deserves it. I called it. You and I have talked about this at length. If someone was going to dethrone the DMD, it needed to be Thunder.
One person.
I'm not going backwards on that, right? But to me, the story that makes the most sense, the story that's the most compelling, is if Thunder is the underdog. So not only if Thunder is fighting Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter, and Rebel, right? But if she's also having to fight Toni Storm. So I like Thunderstorm, right?
Yeah.
I like the tag team. And there's a lot to like about Toni Storm as a marketable big star in this division. But I think that you need to capitalize on Thunder as the underdog, so to speak, and put her in a position where she's fighting, the odds are against her, right? So I wouldn't be against Toni Storm turning on Thunder Rosa. I wouldn't, and again, putting Toni in a position where she's a believable, legitimate title contender, because we all see that out of her, right? She is a star.
Right.
To me, she carries herself in the ring. That hip attack.
Oh, it's brutal.
I mean, that is, to me, one of the coolest moves in AEW right now. Every time, and the camera angle always captures it in a way that looks absolutely brutal and devastating. And props to Britt Baker. She made that move. She elevated that move to another level when she sold the injury, so to speak, when she was going against Toni. To me, SPD, I feel like you don't want to mess with this formula too much, right? You have Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker interacting with each other again. I am never going to give you Britt Baker on Team Babyface. It's never going to happen. I'm never allowing that, right? So if you're going to continue to stick with what works,
right,
keep playing this feud, Britt versus Thunder, but allow another enemy to creep up on Thunder's radar. It's no different than like Batman feuding with the Joker, and then all of a sudden the Riddler comes into the picture, or Mr. Free, right?
The Penguin,
or
Mr. Dynamite.
And there's no reason why Toni Storm couldn't be a tweener, right? Toni can be one of those people who is popular, but also has an edge to her and wants the belt. And to me, I would play off of that.
Yeah.
I would continue to lean into the Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker feud as the foundation for that. Right now, SPD, you and I talked about, dude, you got Jamie Hayter going against Thunder Rosa. You have literally 3 legit title contenders and your champion all involved in this feud. And it to me, it doesn't get better than that.
You're right.
So don't just milk it, baby. Milk it. Stretch it out and make this thing mean something. I'm all for it. I to me, again, I said it. I'll say it as emphatically as possible. AEW is at its best when Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa are feuding with each other. I think that is a feud.
You're not wrong.
I think that's a feud that sets the foundation, sets the tone for the women's division.
You're right.
So, Jade would benefit if she had a clear rival, and I think we're starting to see that.
Yeah, Statlander.
Well, yeah, I think we're starting to see Jade have her arch nemesis, no different than Thunder. I like that. I really think that wrestling is at its best when you have a clear cut babyface and heel, and this is to
You
me,
versus me.
That's right.
Team
That's why we
babyface.
have to have somebody in between us.
I know, that's right.
We can't have us sitting next to each other.
I want to
It would
talk
be
about
too much.
I'll have to give it and say the co-main event right here with the dumpster mat. Scissor me, Crayfish, Daddy Crayfish.
I love this.
I know, man.
Love this match.
I tweeted this out for us, and it was one of those like, I love this feud. I
Breaks
don't
my
want
heart
it to
that they
end.
broke
It
up.
does
I
break my heart
loved
because
how they were together.
Scissor me, Daddy ass.
Daddy
This
ass.
is some of the most
loved
must-see
it.
TV every week in and week out. But I have to give it props to both teams because you talk about the Lucha Brothers, you talk about the Young Bucks,
You're right.
you talk about FTR. These are 2 teams that really have carried the tag division over the last few months, and have really been the core of it. You know, you're not talking title contenders nonstop, but you're talking about entertainment, in-ring work, and character development.
Yep.
And you're getting a co-main event out of these 2 teams, and that are literally must-see TV. It's great stuff, man.
Yeah,
I think
mean, pure entertainment value, it's hard to top the Acclaimed and the Gun Club. I mean, you and I have been huge advocates for the Gun Club well before they ever were really established as a legitimate team in this division, right? They
are now, but easily.
These guys give it everything they have in every segment that they're in. And that's one of the things that I really appreciate about the Gun Club. You can, if you're a booker, right? If you're Tony or QT going forward, right? This is a team that you can really look at as, all right, they're going to give everything they have to make sure that this segment is over with the crowd.
Right.
And when you pair that up with a team as naturally charismatic as the Acclaimed, it's just going to be gold. So I'm not surprised that, although I'm disappointed that they broke up, I love them as a team. I'm not surprised that they're working so well off of each other.
Right.
And you've said this for a long time. I mean, you and I go back and forth on the Acclaimed, right? I was a little bit ahead of the curve on you when it comes to the Acclaimed. I was a little bit ahead of the curve.
You were. I'll agree with that.
But you were ahead of the curve with me when it comes to the fact that this is a team that could be a legit babyface tag team, right?
Team babyface all the way.
I always viewed them as charismatic heels, right? As guys who were great as antagonists.
Yeah.
Part of that is because I just think that Max Caster's whole vibe is great when he's ripping on people, and I tend to look at that as more of a heel attribute, right? But in the right light, Caster's jokes and his raps, they work as a babyface.
You're right.
And I have to give you that. Bowens, to me, and I think you've always felt this way, Bowens just feels a babyface, right? Bowens just feels like he's naturally a babyface. His connection with the crowd, his continuous creativity when it comes to his offense, continuing to push himself to try to be better, to push himself to learn new moves and integrate them into his matches. I love that about Bowens. I think that he brings an excitement whenever he's in the ring, whenever he's on TV. Kasher maybe feels a little bit more like his buddy Max. MJF, he feels a little bit more like a heel, but they work. And it's not a coincidence to me that Tony set the Acclaim's breakout, their breakthrough babyface turn. It happened against the Gun Club for a reason.
Yeah.
Right? The Gun Club are so all in, so committed to what they do that dude, this match could have been a dumpster. It could have been a dumpster fire, right? This match could have been a disaster, right? The wrong talents in place here, the wrong people involved. This match could have been lousy.
You're right.
And just the selling, the over-the-top commitment that Austin and Colton have. I mean, you punch them in the face, they'll make the whole crowd feel like it was the biggest punch in the whole world. These guys know what they're doing. They're locked in. They are as good as it gets when it comes to pure entertainment and pure connection with the fans.
Right.
So you pair up these two charismatic teams together, they're not over, dude. It's not over with.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. At the end of the day, the shoot is the end.
I like it.
So I don't want this to be over. I mean, I think these guys just meshed together so well, and it's pure gold. I mean, props to them to co-main eventing this Dynamite. I mean, after we talked to Austin, it was so fun because his wishful, being in the ring with FTR. He happened twice.
Yep.
And all the great stuff that's coming to the Gun Club, and they're deserving it. And starting to be some of the
truly,
backbone of the tag division.
I mean, we've talked about it at length, right? And a lot of fans out there have been with us from day one, right? You got teams like Butcher and the Blade. You got teams like Proud and Powerful. You have teams like Young Bucks, FTR. You have a lot of teams that have been the foundation and the backbone of this division, right? But when you get down to it, the Gun Club and the Acclaimed are quickly establishing themselves as mainstays in this division, right?
Right.
I mean, when you talk about, and again, we're not even talking about the champs right now. I'm so into Swerve and our glory. I
can't wait to see them.
I love how they work off of each other. When they were teasing those two breaking up, I was super vocal online about how I don't want them to break up. I love how Swerve and Keith Lee play off of each other. We're not even talking about the champs here, dude.
I know.
Colton, Austin, Max, and Bowens, they are working themselves into a position where it's undeniable these guys are mainstays in the tag division. They're legit title contenders.
Mm-hmm.
They are bankable when it comes to storylines, charisma, getting over with the crowd. I'm excited for the future for both teams. I know you've called for the Acclaim to be tag champs at some point, and I think that it's only a matter of time for that to happen, right? But I think that both teams have put in the work where it's hard to deny that if the Gun Club had a title reign, the heel work that they would do would be phenomenal.
So good.
Right? So I look at what AEW is doing here as far as building a division, constantly shuffling the deck. Santana Ortiz, we felt like, man, there's no way these guys aren't going to be AEW tag champs at some point. They haven't been, right? And it feels like that team is slowly fading into the background, unfortunately,
right?
But there are new teams, and this is why AEW the future is bright. There are new teams that are bubbling up to the surface when it comes to bankable, talented, charismatic, funny, engaging. I mean, You name
Total
it.
package.
You name it. Total.
You talk
package.
about. I mean, I've said it before. Maximizing your minutes or
Yeah.
seconds on screen.
Amen.
Both these teams have gotten a couple minutes or couple seconds each week sometimes.
Always make
and
it
they
worth
make it
it
a memorable segment where you're constantly talking about it. Maximizing your minutes. No one does it better than the Gun Club and Acclaim. And everybody loves the Acclaim, Scissor Me Daddy Crayfish, and everyone loves the Gun Club as well. So bring it on. Before we wrap things up and we're going to, head out to the town and explore and be here for Grand Rapids, excuse me, Van Andel Arena. We got to talk about one of our fan favorites here at Dynamite Download is Powerhouse
Put
Hobbs.
some respect on his name, baby.
And, I'm not going to talk too much about it because before the show, Crayfish had an excellent point that I want to bring up. Please, the floor is yours because I want you to paint the picture to us all about Powerhouse Hobbs and how you feel about him and the direction he's going.
Yeah, I mean, to me, guys, and for those of you who have been with us from the beginning, right? Like, I've been calling for Wardlow's breakout for years now, right? Wardlow's the type of guy who checks all the boxes. And when I see what's happening with Powerhouse Hobbs, when I see the way this guy has transformed, I mean, again, for those of you who have been watching and you know the history of AEW, you've been there from day one. I mean, Hobbs has absolutely transformed his body. He's absolutely transformed his presentation. You can see a guy who was really brought in as a baby face, right? As an underdog who unfortunately –
I love this baby face story.
I mean, right. Like he lost his brother, right?
Mm-hmm.
A guy who's easy to root for in that regard, right? Brought in as a baby face. The transformation of Powerhouse Hobbs to where he is now is one of the more dramatic changes in the short history of AEW that I can call on, right? This is a guy who now, to me, is incredibly bankable. And that's one of the things I've always said about Wardlow, right? He checks the boxes. The dude is a physical freak. He can do everything you could ever hope for in the ring. He walks, talks, looks like an absolute superstar, right? That's one of the things I've always felt about Wardlow. And I feel like Hobbs is now rounded into form. This is a guy who really reminds me of Wardlow right before his breakout. And I get it, right? MJF and Wardlow, they worked together. They needed each other. They both made each other better. You and I preach this. We preach this all the time. Iron sharpens iron. I think that this Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs feud is going to do the same thing. Yeah. I think that Starks and Hobbs both are going to become legitimate top-level stars as a result of this feud. And that's what happened with Wardlow and MJF, and I think that's what's going to happen here. It's interesting to me. Obviously, Starks is the smaller guy, and he's looking like he's going to be the babyface, whereas, in the MJF-Wardlow feud, MJF was the clear-cut heel. I think that they'll find a way to make this work and play off of a similar dichotomy that what we saw between MJF and Wardlow. But what I'm seeing out of Powerhouse Hobbs, I feel like he's on the precipice of something great. I think this is a guy who is at a point in his career where it's all coming together. And I think that the feud with Starks, everybody's excited. I know you are. You're clearly pumped that Starks is going to get that opportunity to break out, be a big deal, get that spotlight that he deserves, right? Because let's be real, Starks, when it comes to charisma and just like star power on the AEW roster, Ricky Starks is one of the upper echelon guys.
You're right.
I mean, he just feels like a star, right? He just kind of walks the walk. He feels like he's the real deal. I know that this is being built up as like Ricky Starks' breakout, but I personally feel like this is going to be Powerhouse Hobbs' breakout.
So
I think that Starks is already established.
Who's gonna come out on top of this feud as the bigger star? Who do you want and who do you think? Because those are two different things. Like, obviously, I'm torn because I love both these guys. I love, Brian, thank you for the question, because I was going to ask that as well. As we just saw Wardlow come out and such a huge star after the MJF feud.
Yeah.
One of the, gold-plated feuds that we've seen as of late. And this is a good runner-up coming up that we're going to see. Do you want, as a team babyface, I want Starks to get that push, but also at the same time, I love what Hobbs has been doing, and I want him to get even a bigger push. So it's like, to me, it's a win-win.
Yeah.
But if I had to, make my decision, I think it's hard. It always is hard for me when someone turns to another babyface or heel and then they get kind of silenced. Whether it be by, beat or lose that match, then I feel like you get buried. So I feel like you almost have to push Starks to the moon, and for heels to lose, even big heels to lose, you forget about it quickly. And so if Starks being just physically so much smaller than Hobbs, for him to lose and would to me tell me that he's not championship material. So if he were to overcome big powerhouse Hobbs and, overcome the odds where Hobbs is constantly, as we saw this last week, get beat down and over and over and over again. And then for him to come out victorious, it's telling me that they see that he's a star.
Yeah. I mean, it's much easier for me to paint the big bad guy, right? To paint the big heel, the powerhouse. It's easier for him to rebound than it is for the smaller baby face. Right. And yes, like here's what I think is great in this whole scenario, right? I think that although Starks is going into this feud, I think that Starks is the more established star of the two. And it might make more sense to lean into Hobbs getting over and being the guy who wins this feud, right? Because it might be like, well, Starks is already established. I think this is going to be the moment where Starks goes from being a nice mid-card heel to being a upper echelon babyface, right? Overcoming the obstacle that is Powerhouse Hobbs is a big deal. Now, again, I've been very vocal throughout the time here at Dynamite Download that I think that AEW struggles a little bit with building up their big men as strong as they should. And so I think it's very delicate, right? You need to be careful with what you do with Hobbs. You can't have him get nerfed, so to speak,
right,
by Starks in this feud. But if I'm booking it, I think that you book Starks to win this feud.
Yeah. You
have Hobbs put Starks through hell, which we're already starting to see, right? We're already starting to see some of those layers to that story, right? Like Hobbs beat him down when he first turned on him. He did it again at Dynamite last night. And I think that you continue to build him up as a credible beast, but you allow Starks to get to one-up him in the end, right? And to me, then you can quickly diverge, right? I mean, I think it's actually a good thing that Team Taz is broken up. We've talked about it for a long time. It dates back to our interview with Brian Cage, right? This feud
was about a year ago.
This
almost.
Team needs to break up, right? And I think it's a good thing. But I think that there are so few people on the roster quite like Hobbs. I mean, CM Punk talked about it when he joined AEW, right? There are so few people on the AEW roster that can bring the presence that Hobbs brings. That I think that whether he wins or loses this feud, it doesn't really matter. As long as you present him as a badass, he's going to be just fine. That's
Yeah.
my take on it, right? Even as
heels
a
are
heel
more easy
fan,
to rebound than baby faces.
right? All it takes is for him to go decimate somebody, and he'll be fine.
Yep, everyone will forget about it.
Right? Forget about it.
On that note, that was a good show, guys, and thank you for joining us. We are going to wrap things up. We're going to go hit the town, Grand Rapids, while we're here in town. Special live Rampage tomorrow and Battle of the Belts. We're going to take our buddy Mr. Dynamite over here and Finnegan out to check out the town. But thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate it. So stay tuned to us on social. We're going to post some stuff if you want to hear more about how our time was at Rampage and all that and Battle of the Belts.
Can't wait. I mean, we're going to be in the thick of it this weekend, fellas. So, boys and girls, those of you who are following us still and are part of this crew, we're going to have a great time this weekend. Really can't wait to interact with the talent, to see the show that they have in store for us. SPD's been hyping it up. But Crayfish, think about all the matches that we're going to see. All of our favorite talent. I mean, Thunder Rosa is going to be out there. Wardlow. I mean, Claudio is going to Moxley,
MVP of AEW right now.
We got a lot
The
of
tag team
big talent,
championships on the
dude.
line.
So
A lot
can't
of
wait.
belts.
We didn't even talk about Swerve in Our Glory too much, but I've been a huge vocal advocate for those guys. I think they're great. So can't wait for what we have in store this weekend. Make sure you're tuning in to our socials and following that, and we'll keep you in the loop as to how things start to come together. So thanks so much for joining us tonight. Mr. Dynamite here on his A game.
As
Absolutely
always.
pumped. Can't wait. And we'll see you guys soon.